Subnautica, the game that has been in the early access for better part of a decade and just recently have come out of an early access. It is an underwater single-player survival game, but the question as always is this: is this game actually worth it to buy now, years after it was first unveiled, and what you will actually get when you actually start playing this game? So without further ado, let's just get it started. As always, I will try to give you the short answer, or short yes or no answer. And in short, the Subnautica is yes. It is worth to buy even right now. However, there are some limitations. This is not a perfect game, and we're going to be discussing just that. In short, what Subnautica is and what you will experience as you will start playing this game. So Subnautica is underwater survival game, and if you played any of the latest survival games for the past 5-6 years, you know exactly what this means. Basically, that means that you are dropped into your environment and you need to find food, water, and shelter, and basically to not die until a certain point in time. And Subnautica in this matter is no different. The base game is this: you need to find food, water, and in this case build a shelter and not die. But in reality it is far more different, and it is really different from anything that we've ever played before. Well, first big difference that you can understand from every video of this game, that this game is actually happening underwater and almost exclusively underwater. There is actual land in this game, but you will spend less than 1% of your entire playtime on the land, and either 99% will be underwater. And this actually changes game a lot. You see, in other regular games, you are actually surviving on 2D plane, basically going forwards, backwards, right, or left. But in this game, because you are actually free to move up and down anytime in any way that you want, this actually unlocks an entirely new, well, no pun intended, depth to the game. And this is the first thing that you will actually realize and will feel pretty amazing when you start the game. The second is an oxygen mechanics. Basically, in order to survive in this game, well, you need an air that is not existent underwater, right? So very often you need to actually surface to the surface and breathe air and come back. And this keeps you very tense for extended amounts of time. You need to be very cautious all the time. It makes game very interesting and very fun. The next big difference is that there is really no combat in this game. Yes, I mean it. There is no combat. There are no guns. There are no rockets. You cannot mow down armies of enemies. There is nothing here. Only thing that you are getting is a small knife that is basically having the same function as a pickaxe in Minecraft. You are basically mining. You can basically mine different resources, and usually this is an organic resources. And so that means that there is no fighting big bad monsters. Yes, there are enemies in this game and there are monsters in this game, but usually you should not actually fight them. You have either two options when you find something that, well, wants to kill you. It's either to hide from them, or to run away from them, or to not even approach them when you are seeing them. But unfortunately, it's not always possible. And yes, gameplay loop seems pretty cool and pretty fun. And the most interesting is that the game actually has the story as well. And that makes this game even more different from any other survival game. So in other survival games, your goal is basically to just become better in order to survive better and to survive against more powerful enemies. In here, you're actually unlocking your technology by finding out the technology and finding out the story bits. And yes, by the way, the main story of this game is that you crash landed on this planet, and now you will need to find a way to get out of there, or at least find other survivors. That's the basic premise of the game, and this plays all into story. You're looking for other survivors, you're finding the wreckage, you're scanning this wreckage, unlocking new technologies, and you're basically going through the story as you are going through the gameplay itself. And yes, there are also some story bits that is delivered through radio transmissions, through PDAs, through audio logs, and they are played very organically into the game. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm not gonna be talking anything about the story, But yes, it's actually pretty interesting and pretty fun to see how the game's progression is actually tied to the game story itself. And there is also building in this game. You're building bases underwater, and you will need to take care of the energy consumption of the base, and you also need to think about the oxygen supplies, and you also need to think about the structural integrity, because yeah, the structures need to be reinforced in order to withstand the weight of the base itself and the depth of where it's actually built. So it's actually pretty interesting and pretty fun gameplay wise. The best part of the game is not the gameplay. The best part of the game is the atmosphere. This game has probably one of the best atmospheres that I've ever felt in games, period. This is intense and insane. Technically, this game is not a horror. There is nothing to be really afraid of, and every time you die you will just respawn in your base, and it's not a big deal. There are also not the monsters that can one-shot you or that you cannot basically outrun. There's almost nothing like that, and you can take quite a bit of damage before you will actually die. But because it's happening underwater, and the deeper you go, the darker it becomes, and you will need to take care of your oxygen and your food and your water, and this anxiety and this tension that is happening around you. This game is transforming easily the most, well, beautiful atmospheric horrors that you can think of. Again, technically this game is not a horror, but you will be constantly afraid to move forward, because the progression in this game means that you're going deeper and deeper and deeper and unlocking more and more and more secrets of the planet that you actually crash land on. This is probably the most intense game that I've ever played in a while, and intense not because it's scary, but because of the primal instincts that you have in your mind. That primal instincts is that if you cannot see it and you can hear it, you have to be afraid. And if it's dark, you have to be afraid. And because of the amazing visuals and amazing sound design, oh boy, the sound of this game is insane. You're gonna be constantly under tension and you're gonna be constantly afraid. And this is probably the best atmospheric feeling that this game can actually deliver, and one of the best atmospheric feelings that any game can actually deliver, period. And this makes the game insanely beautiful and insanely fun gameplay to go through. And this all changes and transforms as you go through the game. You're not just plunged into the darkness immediately. You are going through this very slowly and very gradually, just keeping you very comfortable and making you to do one step at a time towards a pitch black and darkness. And it is just simply amazing. This is epitome of the game design, and the developers should be commended for it. So okay, this game has a story, and technically this game has an ending as well. You can actually go through this game, and it takes around 30 to 40 hours to actually complete this game from start to finish. You can technically do it in 20 hours, and yeah, if you're doing the second or third playthrough, yes, you can do it in 20 hours. And yes, technically there are also speedruns in 30 minutes, but yeah, this does not count, of course. But the problem rises here. This 40 hours of gameplay is basically the only thing that you will experience in this game. Yes, you can technically go through the game again, and there are actually a few choices. There are a few actually time-based missions that you will need to complete, and it will be a bit different. And you can actually change the outcome of these missions based on, well, the information that now you know when you're doing a second playthrough. But in reality, it doesn't change a lot. This is not an RPG. This is a survival game and survival adventure, and you are not going to be affecting a lot of choices when you go through the game. So yeah, it's not really that worth it to go through it again. And the problem is that when you go through this game again the second time, the whole charm of going through it and feeling this atmosphere again just goes away. Basically, this game is powerful the first time you go through it, and first time you discover all the different biomes. And boy, there are dozens and dozens of biomes. There's so many biomes. I think there's 30 plus biomes in this game, and it's simply insane. And the second time when you go through it, yeah, you won't be feeling the same way, because you already have been there and you know this places exactly. You've been playing this for 40 hours, and you know exactly what to expect. And the second time, yeah, it might not be, well, that scary, I guess, and that atmospheric, but at least if you're trying to, well, get all the achievements, yeah, it's only worth it to go through the second time. And that's where the problem with this game rises. This game does not have a multiplayer. Yes, this game is a survival game without the multiplayer. Not that this game actually needs the multiplayer. This game actually does not need any multiplayer. And the whole point and whole charm of exploring this world is actually that you are alone. And that actually plays a huge role. Gameplay wise and game longevity wise, not having a multiplayer actually, well, hits hard. However, if you got this game and if you want to play the multiplayer and if you want to play this game with your friends, you can technically do that. There are multiplayer mods that allow you to play through this game with your friends, and I think you can play up to 100 friends. I don't know how this will work technically, but you can actually play with a large number of friends in this game, and that's actually a pretty beautiful thing. But you need to know a little bit about modding. It's not difficult, it's pretty simple, but yeah, the thing is that it's not in a base game and you need to work for it a bit in order to play through this game with your friends. Now, let's talk about the pricing. How much this game will actually cost you. So, first things first, game is available on a variety of platforms. It's available on PC, on consoles, and it's even available on Nintendo Switch, and it's available on a Game Pass as well, which we're going to be discussing in a second. But on Steam, the base price for the game is $29.99 for Tier 1 countries and $14.49 for Tier 2 countries. And it can go as low as $9.99 for Tier 1 countries and $6.29 for Tier 2 countries. Is this game worth it for these prices? For discounted prices, absolutely. If you see this game on a discount, go and get it. Whether you like it, survival games or not, you are going to enjoy this. This game is more like an atmospheric adventure than it is survival. Yes, the survival elements are there, but it is not as hard. For example, the food and water elements, you actually need to consume food and water at around 20 to 30 minutes. So it's not even that difficult, and getting food and water is not even that hard as well. So it's food and water is more like a tacked on element. Oxygen is much more important, but in this case it actually plays more towards an atmosphere than it is like a hindrance towards you exploring the world. It actually gives you an urgency to explore more things faster. So that's actually a pretty cool thing. Even if you don't like any survival games and you like just an adventure games, get this game on a discount. Now, what about the full price? Well, for the Tier 2 countries, absolutely. For $16, yes, this game is absolutely worth it as well. But for $30, unless you know exactly what you're taking yourself into, and unless you, well, did a lot of extensive research, which I guess you are doing watching this video as well, I would not suggest you to get this game for $30 because yes, you might not enjoy it for one reason or another. I rarely get any game for full price, and especially if it's a single player. If you have friends to play with, yes, if it's worth it for even for the full price, because you can go through this game alone and then you can go through this game with your friends. And yeah, it actually will be pretty fun. But if you're playing this alone, unless you know exactly what you are taking yourself into, and unless you are ready for what this game can actually provide to you, meaning that it's mainly an atmospheric adventure game with the survival elements, I would call it like that, then yes. But if you're not ready for this, then no, wait for a sale. However, game is also available on Game Pass, and there is also its sequel, the Below Zero, available there as well. And for the Game Pass, this is one of the must-play games. This is one of the best games on a Game Pass, and you should 100% download it and play it right now. This is one of the must-play games just to experience the atmosphere. And if you don't want to go through this game like fully, just get this game and play maybe 1 or maybe maximum 2 hours. If it will not grip you for first 2 hours, then this game is not for you. But I'm absolutely sure that in 99% of the cases it will, and you will want to uncover more and more secrets. And yeah, try to not use a lot of guides, because yeah, it just breaks the game a little bit for you. Just try to discover things more and more. Just collect everything and get everything, because yeah, it's pretty important. And by the way, read all the logs and read all the information the game is providing to you, because yes, almost everything is there. So overall, let's sum it up. Is Subnautica worth it? Overall answer is yes. If you want an atmospheric adventure games with the survival elements, then yes. If lack of multiplayer is not a problem for you, then yes. If you want to experience one of the, well, best experiences in a gaming, then yes. If you want a really hardcore survival game, then no. If you want hardcore survival and also we want the multiplayer, then no. If you want the multiplayer but you're not willing to mod your game because of that, then no. And if you have a Game Pass, then absolutely yes. I hope I summed all this up with these last statements. Overall, I love this game and I want all of you to experience this at least for the few hours, because this game is simply amazing. Well, this should be it for today. Let me know in the comments down below if you have played Subnautica and whether you liked it or not. Thank you for being here with me. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. See ya.